This video is being sponsored by Ratchet Clothing. Today marks the 38-year anniversary of the death of Salvatore Salvie Testa, which took place on September 14, 1984. Salvie Testa, once labeled the Crown Prince of the Philadelphia mob, was the son of Philip the Chicken Man Testa, a nickname he received from his involvement in the poultry business. A lot of people ask questions about where nicknames originated from, and this is a good example of one. For instance, had Phil Testa been involved in the meat industry, his nickname might have been Phil the Butcher. Nonetheless, Phil Testa's life came to an abrupt end on March 15, 1981, when a nail bomb placed underneath the porch of his house exploded. This was the result of a play for power by Phil Testa's underboss, Pete Casella, and Frank Chicky Narducci, a captain in the family. After an investigation for those involved in Testa's death, the members of the New York Commission gave their blessing for Testa's consigliere, Nicodemo Little Nicky Scarfo, to take the boss position in Philadelphia. Salvie Testa would graduate high school and go on to college for 1 year. At an early age, he tried his hand in real estate and became quite successful. And he even partnered up with Chicky Narducci's son, Frank Jr. In fact, they sold former President Donald Trump, who was a casino developer at the time, a piece of property that housed a club that they once owned called Le Bistro. Trump paid $1.1 million for the property, which he eventually built Trump Plaza on. So Salvie and Frank Jr. made a hefty profit since they only paid $195,000 for the property. But Trump outsmarted these two young guys who were both members of the Philadelphia family by this time. Trump hired a third party to handle the purchase because he knew that if they knew that it was him that wanted the property, the asking price would have doubled. Nicky Scarfo not only stood godfather to Salvie Testa when he was a little baby, but he promised his father that if anything happened to him, he doesn't have to worry about his son. A statement Phil Testa most likely believed, but one that couldn't have been more false. At the start, Nicky Scarfo did become a mentor to Sallie Testa. And by 1982, he even bumped him up to a captain's position. Keep in mind, Testa was only 26 years old at the time. But according to former Philadelphia member Nicholas Caramandi, Salvie was all for this thing. He knew it inside out, knew it better than guys who were 60 years old and who's been in it for 40 years. By 1982, South Philadelphia turned into a war zone. The Riccobini faction, headed by Harry the Hunchback Riccobini, refused to pay tribute to Nicky Scarfo. Consequently, a war broke out between these two factions. On July 31st of that same year, Salvie Testa was lunching at Lorenzo's Pizzeria in Philadelphia's historic Italian market. Riccobini gunmen opened fire on Salvie Testa with a shotgun, but he survived his injuries and the attempt on his life. Allegedly, Salvie Testa was responsible for 15 of the 28 hits during the Riccobini-Scarfo War. Overall, Salvie Testa began doing very well for himself. After his father's death, he inherited all his father's rackets. Between the money he made legitimately and street money, he quickly became a millionaire. Aside from wealth, he was a tall, good-looking guy, characteristics that can amplify jealousy in that life. Most of us men at one time or another have made poor choices when it came to women, and Salvie Testa was no different. He began to date a girl named Maria, who was the daughter of Salvatore Chucky Molino, who at the time was the underboss. Chucky Molino is the father of the current Philadelphia boss, Joey Molino. When news of Salvie's new relationship reached Scarfo, he viewed it as a sign that Salvie was strengthening his ties with Chucky Molino. Tensions between Scarfo and his protege began to take shape. In Scarfo's mind, Salvie was becoming too powerful, and it didn't help matters that the Wall Street Journal decided to feature Salvie in an article as the rising star in the Philadelphia mob. Scarfo knew that Salvie was well-liked, an earner, capable, and had youthful ambition. all things he considered a threat to his power. The relationship with Maria Molina was blooming. She even nursed him back to health after the Italian market incident. At some point, he proposed and a wedding date was set. Every detail was taken care of down to the linens on the tables. But by February 1984, 2 months before the wedding, Salvie had second thoughts. He wanted to call the wedding off and end the relationship. He needed somebody to talk to, and who better than his mentor, Nicky Scarfo. Salvie's relationship trouble was music to Scarfo's ears. He advised him to end the relationship right away. And without hesitation, he put a plan in motion to have Salvie hit. Naturally, it didn't take much convincing to get Chucky Molino on board. Salvie not only humiliated his daughter, but disrespected him in the process. The first sign of something was up took place at a charity dinner being held at Palumbo's restaurant in South Philadelphia. Nicky Scarfo reserved the table for his inner circle, but when Salvie Testa arrived, he had to sit at another table. This was a statement, one that should have definitely had Salvie's antennas up. In that life, when you get shunned, you have a major problem. According to Phil Leonetti, Scarfo's nephew and former underboss, they were using Joseph Joe Pungatore to set Salvie up. And Pungatore happened to be Salvie's best friend. He agreed to setting Salvie up, but asked that he not be the one to pull the trigger. What a nice guy. With friends like him, you don't need enemies. But Pungatore had been dragging his feet on the assignment, and he had the misfortune to run into Scarfo and Leonetti one day on the beach. Scarfo asked him what was taking so long. Pungatore explained that it was difficult because Salvie was very suspicious. This was a fact. Salvie Testa grew up around a life and was too familiar with the treachery and the double-crossing that came with it. Nicholas Caramandi added, Salvie was very cautious. He just felt bad vibes. Every time you shook his hand, he'd bring you in close with his right hand and just pat you down with his left hand from behind to see if you were carrying a gun. Nevertheless, Scarfo was tired of Pungatore's excuses and told him that if it didn't get done, he'd kill his father, brother, and him too. Days later, Pungatore lured Salvie Testa to a candy store in South Philly. In the back of the candy store, Salvie shook hands with Salvatore Wayne Grande. Grande would later become a government witness, and he's also the father of Dominic Grande, a captain in the Philadelphia family today. Wayne Grande would be the shooter that night. Foolishly, Salvie Testa never suspected that his best friend would set him up. Yet, Pungatore did just that. Salvie Testa's body would be discovered on the side of a New Jersey road. In 1988, a Philadelphia jury acquitted Nicky Scarfo and 8 associates, including 2 who were directly involved in Salvie Testa's murder, Salvatore Wayne Grande and Joseph Pungatore. Outside the courthouse, Nicky Scarfo told reporters, I love the American judicial system. It's a sad story with a sad ending, and it's unfortunate, but the guys aspiring to be part of that life, and especially the guys that are in the life, just know what happened to Salvie Testa can very easily happen to you. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, you could hit the like button if you want, and I appreciate everyone that does. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you could do that now if you want, and I appreciate everyone who has subscribed. All right, till the next time. You can subscribe to the Sit Down News blog at sitdownnews.com, and I appreciate everyone who has subscribed. Thank you. Well, just another example in the mob you never knew about. Hope you enjoyed the story. If you would like to subscribe to this channel, you could do so down below. If you would like to subscribe to my other channel, Unlimited Substance Podcast, I'll add a link in the description to this video.